validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. And before we go any further, I just want to throw something out there for my man right here. He got in right before the show. Special shout out to Mr. Satellite Dive Bomb in the show. As we start an hour late. Greatly appreciate you coming in, Mr. Satellite. Good to see you. Lost count. We were on like 71, right? It's good to see you, Mr. Satellite. Definitely great to see you. We are talking about transforming your daily life and getting your ability to make yourself more functional by having more breaks and resting and recuperating. And this is kind of a backup plan to not necessarily a backup plan, but like an addition to yesterday's topic when we were talking about organization and structuralizing a plan and not overworking yourself. So we went from that to talking about now the importance of breaks and minimizing your workload for extended periods of time. Because I know us Gen Xers, we work until we drop. You know, they raised slaves when they raised us legitimately. Like we would grind 18 hours a day, we would complain when we were told to take a 5-minute break, especially if we had to clock out to take that break. And all we did was grind. The way that we functioned led to the labor laws that prevent us from doing that anymore, where now companies get penalized for having workers work as hard as we used to work back in the day. So it is a change in dynamics. It is a change in structure. But the thing is that the overall evidence has shown that mental health improvement occurs from being able to rest more often. And I find myself giving people this advice even off the show, when I have told individuals that, you know, if you can only move for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, if you work for 10 minutes and take a 5-minute break every 15 minutes out of an hour, you would have had 20 minutes worth of breaks and still did 40 minutes worth of work. And that still makes you productive, because you could probably, instead of working until you can't work anymore and then only being able to put in 2 hours and be down for the rest of the day, you could be up for shorter spurts, be down more frequently, and be more productive. Now, and I had this conversation with somebody like weeks ago, almost 6 weeks ago, I think. So now I'm covering it on the show. Today being Friday, ironically, today is Friday. So we have today, tomorrow, and then Sunday, we're doing a members only show. There's questions and comments for the fans. And then Monday, we're going to be talking about that golden phone. We're going to be talking about how that's changing the stock market with cellular phones and investment opportunities that are related to that. We're also going to potentially touch base on the progress of the riots that were occurring in California, and how the development of social unrest is occurring. We're going to be throwing that in there as well while we talk about that phone, because I don't think we got 2 hours of discussion for Donald Trump's phone, but talking about the market as it is impacted by Donald Trump's ability to start up a phone line with healthcare services on it. I think that's something that we can talk about a little bit. Because a lot of people are talking about it from one concept, meaning that the idea that it's not as techy as other cell phones with cameras and wide screens and all this other stuff, but it is more practical for elderly individuals that are trying to pick up a phone that has the on-call emergency health service, which, if the emergency healthcare service is included in your phone bill, then your ability to get this actually, and I'm going to talk about this on Monday, this actually opens a lot of doors, because if you start expanding on concierge visits, where doctors come to you instead of you having to go to the doctor, based on the availability of the doctors in your area, you will find that more individuals will be able to get more accessible medical treatment, at least the general regular physical checkups, as opposed to the everybody sitting in the hospital and being carted in and out like, you know, a conveyor belt. So it opens up a whole nother market, and we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff. Now, that might give us a full hour of discussion for Monday. And then we're going to be talking about stocks and stuff, because like I told you guys, you should be getting ready, if you have not already bought into AG mortgage stock. You should be buying in the AG mortgage stock over the next few days, because once you get in there, it is supposed to give out a pretty decent payout. And we're going to be talking about payouts towards the end of the month, because some of the payouts happen at the beginning of the month, some of the payouts happen at the end of the month. And as those payouts occur, I'm going to be giving you guys the announcements on the payout amounts that I received off of the dividend rotation strategy, which lets you guys know what you guys could have been getting if you were following along. Likewise, we're supposed to be tiptoeing straight into, because I just sold AB Realty, and when we sold that one, we actually had a profit off of that one, and that was right after selling International Seaway. So those were back-to-back scenarios, and Now we're getting ready to look into AGNC and Orchid Island, but it depends on when you buy in versus when you sell, because right now it's a bit high and it's supposed to dip in 2 or 3 days. And if it dips, because it's a little over $707.04 or $7.11 a share, and if it dips back down to 680 or 690, it'll drop 12% in probably 3 or 4 days. And if that does happen, before you buy in, you could potentially see a larger return when you sell on the first. But if you buy in today, while it's high, if it tanks and drops that 12 to 14% between the 23rd and 25th, and then you're looking at trying to sell, you're looking at selling at a loss, which is what we talked about last month. So we're going to wait until the 24th or the 25th, because it's got to be on the books before the 28th. And it only takes like 1 day to buy. So we could buy on the 26th. We don't have to buy on the 28th. We could buy on the 26th or 27th. So by today being the 20th, we're going to wait and see over the next 5 days, 5 or 6 days, over the next week. So before next Saturday, we're going to see, are we buying in this week or are we buying in the following Monday, whichever. But we want to be on the books before the 28th, right? So pay attention to the dividend rotation strategy, because I'm going to tell you when we're striking the iron so that you can get it while it's hot. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get underway. You notice that we are live 7 nights a week. We always got something different to talk to you guys about, and we got to make changes sometimes in the moment, and that causes us to start an hour late, like we started an hour late today. But for the most part, we typically run it approximately around about the same time every night of the week. And we don't let the sun rise without going live. So while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, ladies, y'all can come and learn some things that'll help y'all become more successful women. And if you learn some of the self-improvement and personal improvement things, that this will also key you into being a more valuable woman as well. So while the men are coming to this channel to learn new things and invest and grow financially, they're also trying to invest in themselves and grow their characteristics and personal traits that will make them more valuable men on the other side. So as they grow, you grow, and as you grow, now let's go ahead and get underway. If you guys have not noticed it, you have been told a lie, right? Not from me, though. It's a sneaky, persistent lie that's been whispered and memed into our culture for years. The lie is that the only way to be successful, to be valuable, is to work relentlessly nonstop. It's the whole rise and grind mantra, the 5 a.m. club, you know, that early bird gets the worm scenario, the hustle culture that emphasizes the idea that working an 80-hour week is something to brag about. I can't remember your boy. He said, I got 6 jobs and I don't get tired. Bruh, I get tired. I don't know about I don't know what kind of speed or ecstasy he's taking, but I get tired. But at least us Gen Xers, we've been trained to believe that our output is our identity. And a lot of generations have learned that the more you put in, the more you get out. I've said it on the show, as far as putting into a system of resources that you're benefiting from. But around the country, around the world, the idea that the more you put in, the more you get out. And that at any moment of rest is a sign of weakness. I've never told you guys that. Resting is not weakness. Resting is needed. But I can tell you that your identity is not about your output. Your identity is going to be based off of your character, your personality, and the resources that you have to input. See what I'm saying? Because social class is going to be based off of the resources that you have. Well, economic class is going to be the resources you have. The social class is going to be the people that you know. the network that you have. And then your personality and your characteristics is going to define whether or not you fit into that social class. So think about that for a second. But it's the serene song of hustle culture. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys, it's leading us right off a cliff. A lot of us are spending more time to chase money more than pay attention to happiness. A lot of us will sacrifice our family, our relationships in order to get more money. And a lot of us are losing our relationships. You see it all the time on those CSI and cop shows where everybody's divorced. Statistically, there is an extremely large quantity of relationships in the police force and an even higher quantity of divorce rates where partners hook up on a job, even though policy says don't, and marriages fall apart because good employees, good cops, dedicate themselves to the job. They're married to the job, and you can't be married to two entities at the same time and give them both the exact same attention. And that's just truth. Those that don't care that you're not paying them attention, they can thrive. But those individuals that want undivided attention, you can't have more than one entity wanting your undivided attention and there not be a rift between the two when the attention is divided, or one has more of a demand and the other is starting to get less attention. So think about this. When you're married to your job, you're not going to be able to maintain a healthy relationship, which is why we're talking about you guys got to take these breaks. But what if I told you that the entire philosophy is not just wrong, it's actually holding you back? And I started giving you instances as to why. What if the real secret to being more effective, more creative, and more focused isn't to do more, but to intentionally do nothing? I know, it sounds absurd, counterintuitive even, maybe even a little lazy. But the truth, which is backed by a whole lot of science, is that taking strategic, intentional pauses is one of the most powerful things you can do. It's the key to unlocking a level of productivity and clarity that your most frantic, overworked colleagues can only dream of. So stick with me because we're about to tear down the myth of the endless grind and show you why doing nothing is about to change everything. So let's be real. We are living in a global burnout crisis, as we were talking about yesterday. This isn't just a buzzword. The World Health Organization has officially recognized burnout as a syndrome from chronic workplace stress. It's not just feeling tired, it's a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. We wear our busyness like a badge of honor. And I got to tell you, like I've actually had a lot of clients that talk to me about it. I said this yesterday. A buddy of mine from Taiwan, he had a vacation. It wasn't a long vacation. He was out there on business. He had a 4-day weekend because his job had just finished a project. He did not start another project until Tuesday. He didn't have any work for his master's degree, second master's, by the way. So congratulations to him. He had a 4-day weekend. Guy took a class for cooking, 7-day-a-week gym membership, and he took up being a tour guide. So instead of using that 4-day weekend to rest, he found other things to do to preoccupy his time, keep him busy. We talked about it, and I explained to him that you got to let your body rest at some point. And he said that he doesn't feel comfortable with that. He felt lazy. He had to stay busy. You know what? He got sick. Then I told him, so what about that rest? He kept trying to be productive. Then he crashed out. Burnout hit him so much to the point where he actually has to get some sleep. He started oversleeping. He started not being on time for things. Then when me and him started talking and he starts getting some days off, I said, well, what are you going to do this week? He says, I'm going to rest. He learned, but it took crashing out. It took not being able to be productive anymore to realize that he was working himself too hard. Behind the curated social media posts of early mornings and late nights, there's a silent epidemic of anxiety and chronic stress. We've been sold this dream of achievement that for so many has turned into a nightmare of diminishing returns. A world where more hours doesn't lead to more success, but the less creativity we end up with, worse health, and strained relationships. The very culture that tells us to grind is the thing that's grinding us down. Now, let's be honest when we start talking about this grind, because the average manual labor worker, blue collar worker, is here on a paid for your presence position. Okay. And since you're paid for your presence, the ability to make yourself a little bit of money requires you to show up. So the horribleness behind this is the fact that you are not going to make $1 if you stay at home, right? But the wealthy individuals, like take day traders, for example. A day trader might spend 4 hours out of the day trading stocks. He can have an 8-hour sleep, and that is 12 hours, which gives him a 12-hour day to do nothing or be productive in entertaining himself, enjoying hobbies, living life. Take billionaires who do not at any point in time have to struggle with chasing their money because they make enough money to pay somebody else to make that struggle for them. Millionaires and billionaires, they wake up to meet and greets. They spend their day negotiating with people and hanging out with individuals to win their friendship so that they can sign a contract to close a deal. They make phone calls. They talk to folks. They show up to parties, soirees, networking scenarios. But at no point do you see the physical grind in the lifestyle of a millionaire, in the lifestyle of a billionaire. Most of us don't know how to get there. That's one of the reasons why I tell you guys about taking the money that you're not putting on bills and throw that towards stock options and flip that nonsense until you end up at a point where you can do the exact same thing. If you're making more money than you need, you can invest in something big. If you're making more money than what you need, you can quit working on the job that you're working on and spend more time finding more ways to make more money for you. Where when you wake up out of bed and the most stressful thing you have on your mind is, where do I put my money so that I can make even more money because all my bills are paid for the year? I just don't want to pay taxes on this. So what can I invest in so I don't have to pay tax? I think I want that kind of stress. But let's just call it what it is. It's a culture obsession that we have with hustling. The hustle culture is this lifestyle that says your personal worth is tied directly to your professional output. And a lot of people specifically identify the value of your personal work as the type of profession that you have. So lower valued individuals will idolize the drug game. So if you're out there making money selling drugs on a street corner, sitting on a cardboard box, rolling dice, waiting on somebody to buy the product from you at $10 a bag or $20 a bag, is $75 a bag with inflation, then, you might be popular. Other individuals might find more prestige in the type of job that you have, tech firm or a computer designer or something to that effect, but they would have less value in restaurant manager or franchise owner or a painter, not like a Picasso painter, but like a housing development painter, like a real estate painter, something like that. And the fact is that all of these concepts are incorrect. It's the belief that you have to be consistently on. And a lot of people believe that you have to specifically leave your house to go somewhere else to make that money to validate your employment. Take, for example, a lot of people have very little respect for content creators. I can tell you, over the past couple of years that I've been doing this is a full-time job to find concepts, to create the show, to create the advertisement about the show, to monitor the traffic, to edit the videos, to produce more videos, to advertise it across multiple platforms. It is a full-time job. It's not just, unlike the girls who could just point the camera at themselves and get 1 million views because they look cute, guys cannot really be content creators without actually having an intuitive idea that they put on a camera. It really requires some effort, right? But some people who are used to leaving the house and working for somebody else to make a buck will say that if you can just turn on a camera and talk into the camera and make money, they don't value that as a prestigious career. But working longer hours, grabbing a side hustle after that, after your main hustle, you're grabbing a side hustle. There's some people grabbing multiple side hustles and staying plugged in, even on the weekends where like you literally don't have a day off. The day off of your main job, you have your side job, your secondary job, and the day that you have off on both jobs, you have a third job where you're always going to work somewhere, but you never are home to enjoy the lifestyle that you built. This is how relationships start to teeter into catastrophe. And regardless of what kind of standard of living you have, you're never at home to enjoy it. You spend more time either in your car on your way to and from work or at the job. So why put in so much effort for what? To show people the pictures of the house that you're never at? Like, that makes no sense. But this isn't just about having a strong work ethic, because a strong work ethic can be good. It's just, it's about a kind of performative workaholicism. So we're looking at busy is often more important than actually getting things done. And when you're looking busy or being busy, and that is more important to you than actually getting things done. I told you yesterday that 80% of stuff that you do is meaningful, and the other 20% of the things are really meaningful, and 80% of the things are busy work. And I told you yesterday that you should prioritize the 20% of things that gets the most stuff done, that accomplishes the most. And then the other 80%, that is just busy work. You challenge the validity of it and determine whether or not you actually need to do that. Is that something that you want to do, that you don't necessarily have to do? Will that accomplish something that you can benefit from in the immediate or in the long term? And if it's not something that is necessarily required to be done today, don't stress yourself out about it. Let it go. But this workaholism has been fueled by a mix of economic anxiety, the gig economy, which is like short-term side hustles, quick cash, some of it under the table that is tax-free because you don't report it. Social media, where influencers and CEOs brag about their punishing schedules like it's the only way to win. I got to tell you, I have a punishing schedule, and I continue to talk to you about how I'm working my way into a position where I don't have a punishing schedule. And even when I think about that punishing schedule, since I've been taking my own advice about balancing the priorities between what I need to do versus what I don't need to do, I found myself getting a lot more rest and taking a lot more breaks. And you guys got to understand, this doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's like the classic work ethic, went to the gym, took way too many steroids, and turned into this monster. That's how we're putting ourselves to work. You see it everywhere. The LinkedIn posts that celebrate skipping meals to hit a deadline, the podcast host who says that sleep is for the weak. It's that nagging feeling of guilt you get when you dare to just watch a movie on a Tuesday night, where you ultimately feel like that's being lazy. It's a system of belief. We're told that if we're not grinding, we're falling behind. And I can tell you that I've had that feeling plenty of times, where if I decided to stop, if I decided to just don't, I have found myself feeling like I'm not productive enough. But that doesn't stop me from stopping, and that doesn't stop me from not doing stuff, because I recognize that I need some rest. If I can't be successful without taking one day off, then I am doing something wrong. So I'm going to take one day off, and then the next day I'm going to figure out what I need to do to fix this so that I can have more than one day off. And I'm going to do it again so that I can maximize my efforts so that I can have more than 2 days off. Because it makes no sense to work every day of your life. So if we're not optimizing every single second, we consider ourselves lazy. Rest is no longer a biological need. A lot of people say that I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's treated like a moral failing. The social pressure is huge. In a lot of industries, especially tech and finance, overworking isn't just encouraged, it's the baseline expectation. It creates this toxic loop where everyone's competing to see who can stay the latest or answer emails the fastest. This kind of environment doesn't reward smart work. It rewards just being present. But here's the funny thing. That is what big business wants. They want worker bees. They want worker ants to continue to grind, to overperform, underpaid. You're doing the work of 10 people by yourself for the same pay as one person. They're not going to give you the pay of 10 people to reflect the quantity of work that you're achieving, but they are going to make sure that the minimum work ethic becomes exactly your workload. And anybody who's not working and doing the job of 10 people will get replaced with somebody who's capable of doing the job of 10 people. But now they've got 100 people doing the work of 10,000 people. They're saving 9,000 people worth of labor because of the false mentality of grinding to make a buck. If they get what they pay for and you put in enough effort to match how they pay you, your work ethic would diminish drastically. But you'll come to find out that as long as you're maintaining this self-sacrificing reward, you end up on a hamster wheel where the finish line keeps moving. You never achieve your goals. Some people even abandon their goals. They have dreams and they determine that dreams are for children. Now that we're adults, we don't have any dreams. We just have to get by. The culture promises that if you just hustle a little bit harder, you'll find a way to finally be happy and fulfilled. But it's a bait and switch situation. The hustle itself becomes the goal, and it robs us of the very things we're working for in the first place. And that's why I've been telling you guys, if we're trying to get that financial freedom, if we're trying to reach a point where we can stop, when I give you guys the investment opportunities that I give you guys, I'm telling y'all what y'all need to know and what y'all need to do to reach a point where you can clock out and never clock back in again. I'm telling you guys where you need to go and what you need to accomplish in order for yourselves to be on point with your financial success. This isn't just a friendly disagreement about work-life balance. The consequences of the endless grind are really measurable things happening inside your brain and your body. So when you push yourself past your natural limits, things don't just get tired, they start to break down. So let's start with your brain. Pushing yourself through crazy long work hours creates chronic stress, flooding your body with hormones like cortisol. In short bursts, that's fine. It's a survival mechanism, but over time, keeping that alarm system on 24/7 is devastating. Studies have shown that working long hours, like over 52 hours a week, can lead to actual physical changes in your brain's structure. It's not a good thing. These changes can mess with your memory, focus, and ability to make good decisions, which is highly important for becoming higher valued individuals. Because if you are making impulse decisions based off of poor focus and the lack of memory, you are crashing your success rate. That's not good. This leads to directly to the burnout that I keep telling you guys about, which is way more than just feeling wiped out. Burnout is a serious state of cognitive decline where research has shown it's linked to a thinning of your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that handles planning and problem solving, which is where impulsive decisions that leads to inappropriate moments, rage moments where individuals are lashing out in the streets and acting irrational to one another. Basically, the part of your brain you need to do high quality work begins to shrink under the strain. You also see changes in the amygdala. Well, what do they call that? That's hard to pronounce. Amygdala. I know that'd probably be a silent D. This is the brain's fear center. If you could pronounce that word better, jump on the show and say it for me. Amygdala. I think that's what it is if you have a silent G. This can get bigger and mess with your ability to regulate anxiety. Come to find out, while your leg is always shaking, you're always twitching, you're, dealing with irregular heart rates. You're not scared, but you're stressed as if you're scared. You got to understand that all of these things are coming from the same situation. The constant stress literally rewires your brain to be less focused and less resilient, which also means that you can succumb to mistakes, errors in judgment, and allowing yourself to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, involved in the wrong thing that leaves you in a world of trouble that you cannot get yourself out of. In other words, working doesn't make you better at your job. It demonstratively makes you worse. Then there's the death of creativity. Your brain basically has two modes, a focus mode and an unfocused mode, daydreaming mode, right? The focus mode is for spreadsheets and reports, Hustle culture demands we stay in this mode all the time. But here's the catch: your big, innovative, game changing ideas almost never come from the focus mode. They come from the default mode, network, which kicks in when your mind is idle, when you're taking a shower, going for a walk, or just daydreaming. Ironically, you might find yourself in that capability when you can turn your brain off. Gamers, individuals who can sit there and watch a movie that does not require you to think, or play a video game that does not require you to think, and you could just get in there and just knock that out for a little bit, and then all of a sudden ideas start popping up. The DMN is your brain's creative energy. When you're constantly grinding, you are starving your brain of the downtime it needs to have its best ideas. And this leads to another disaster: decision fatigue. Your ability to make good choices is a finite resource, like a muscle that gets tired. Every decision you make, from what to wear to a major strategic call, drains that muscle. When you're overworked, the quality of your choices plummets. You start making impulsive, short-sighted calls, or you just avoid making decisions altogether. Impulsive, short-sighted calls could be stimulating in the moment, but catastrophic in the long run. Avoiding a decision altogether could be deflective of stress in the moment, but have catastrophic fallout in the long run. It's why, after a brutal day, the simple question of what's for dinner can feel impossible. This isn't a character flaw. It's your brain telling you it's out of fuel. The physical toll is just as bad. Chronic stress is linked to everything from high blood pressure to a weaker immune system. And the social cost is real. Relationships get strained, hobbies disappear, and life becomes a boring cycle of just work and sleep. Sometimes not even sleep. We were promised a ladder to success, but for a long time, a lot of people just got a cage. It's okay. So we're overworked, exhausted, and less creative. The model is clearly broken. So what's the fix? It is, in some people's mind, some new productivity hacks to cram even more into our day. I don't think that's a good idea. The solution instead is the complete opposite. The answer isn't to work harder, but to rest smarter. This is where we introduce our secret weapon: strategic laziness. Now, I know that word might make you flinch. Laziness is the ultimate sin in the church of hustle, but we need to redefine it. This isn't about ignoring your responsibilities. Strategic laziness is the deliberate and purposeful of rest to boost your performance and protect your well-being. It's about understanding that your energy and attention are your most valuable resources, and managing them is the way more important things that you want to manage gets managed, and your time is also managed more effectively. As work-life balance specialist Dennis Green says, it's like saying an animal is lazy for napping. Animals get it. Without rest, they can't hunt. But we think we can just go on forever, and that's just not true. So let's get into the science of why this laziness is so powerful. First, doing nothing actually makes you more creative. As we say, your best ideas are born in that daydreaming default mode network. Remember when we were younger and people used to say idle minds fuel trouble? So to keep us from being creative about entertaining ourselves with delinquency mindsets, they would give us something to do to make us more productive. When do you get your best ideas? I bet it's rarely when you're staring at a blank page. If you're doing free writing, you know what I'm talking about. It's in the shower or on a walk or staring out a window. It's when you're trying to sleep, you close your eyes, you're staring at the back of your eyelids, your brain's still working, thoughts are being processed, and information starts coming out. You don't want to get out of bed, but that's the moment when your creativity strikes. You might be driving down the road, you might be hanging out with some friends, and then all of a sudden, the one thing that you could not crack, you just cracked. And this is why I told you yesterday, if you have a notepad or an app that allows you to take notes that's with you, as soon as that creative thinking is triggered while you're vacationing, while you're taking a break, while you're resting and relaxing, you can note down the creative thoughts, get back to relaxing, and then you can come back to that creative thought once you get back to work. These moments of boredom aren't a waste of time. They are a biological requirement for creativity. The Dutch have a brilliant word for this, nietsen, which literally means the art of doing nothing without any purpose. By building these moments into your day, you're basically scheduling time for inspiration to show up. Remember, I told you yesterday to schedule your breaks before you fill your calendar. Schedule your time off. 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, hour and a half here. Schedule your mandatory breaks before you schedule your to-do list on your daily schedule. Schedule your sleep time. If your downtime is going to be 8 hours with 6 hours of sleep and 2 hours of nothing, that's your downtime. I would recommend that in addition to that 8 hours, that you would schedule 30 minutes every 4 hours throughout the day to stop, and 1 hour twice a day to eat, which will give you a lot more time to just break away from whatever it was that you were supposed to be doing. Second, doing nothing sharpens your focus. The idea that you can stay in deep concentration for hours is a myth. Think of your attention like a phone battery. It drains. Attention restoration theory suggests that you can recharge that battery by shifting your attention to something less demanding, especially nature. But even tiny breaks works wonders. This is one of the reasons why I told you yesterday, when you plan for your 5 things that you're going to accomplish today, you plan 2 things that are taxing, 1 or 2 things that are taxing, 2 or 3 things that are not taxing. If you accomplish 1 taxing thing, take a break. Accomplish 1 or 2 non-taxing things, take a break. Accomplish another taxing thing, take a break. See how much time you have left. If you have more time to do the other less important thing, you can accomplish the other 1 or 2 less important things. Or if you ran out of time, you can push that less important thing to another day, but you've accomplished the 1 or 2 mandatorily required things that would take up the most stress out of your day. Research on microbreaks, which are short pauses of 10 minutes or less, shows they can seriously reduce mental fatigue and improve concentration. Something as simple as going to the bathroom, taking a break, not focusing on anything. That level of isolation, you realize that When you remove yourself from the work floor, go sit in the bathroom, you're in there by yourself. Outside of how the bathroom's environment typically is, you find yourself capable of breathing better, thinking clearer. When you do come out of the bathroom after 10 or 15 minutes of being in the bathroom, you find yourself able to focus more on whatever it was you were doing, especially if you pulled yourself out of an intensive situation. And then you go back into that intensive situation where everybody else is feeling that burnout, but you're not feeling that burnout because you took a break. These breaks act like a mental rest button. It's a reset scenario. It's why methods like the Pomodoro technique, which is a 25-minute of work, 5-minute break, are so effective. And this is also why they have labor laws that requires for every 4 hours that you take a 30-minute break or 15-minute break every 4 hours and a 1 hour break for lunch. If out of every 25 minutes, you're taking a 5-minute break, that means you're down for 10 minutes out of every hour. And out of 4 hours, you should probably see yourself taking a good 30 to 40 minutes worth of break times. Notice that a lot of jobs afford you with a 5-minute on the clock smoke break, but for non-smokers, the biased behavior of allowing you to sit down and breathe for 5 minutes and then get up and get back to work without being forced to clock out. Well, they do force non-smokers to clock out, but they try to change that and allow non-smokers to be able to sit down for 5 minutes and breathe a little bit before they get back to it so that they can maintain the workload and then take that 1 hour break. They force minors to take that half-hour break every 4 hours, every 3.5, 4 hours. But once you start becoming an adult, they actually allow you to voluntarily skip your breaks. But you have to remember your breaks are necessary. These breaks, they work with your brain's natural rhythm, not against it. And doing nothing helps you solve the problems faster because when you turn your brain off, you step away from the mental block that is preventing you from overcoming the obstacle that you're trying to work through. Have you ever been stuck on a hard problem and then hours later, the solution just pops into your head while you're doing something else entirely? That's the power of incubation. When you step away from a problem, your subconscious mind keeps working on it in the background. Freed from the narrow lens of your focused attention, your brain can find conscious connections that you would have missed. Boredom isn't a void. It's a productive state. A short walk can honestly be more productive than another hour of staring at the same screen. You let your mind wander, and in that wandering, it finds the way. Understanding the science is one thing, but actually doing it is where the magic happens. And look, you don't need to completely overhaul your life. It starts with a small intentional tweak in your day, just like I was telling you yesterday. So let's start with what I call the micro break manifesto. The goal is to simply sprinkle short, refreshing pauses throughout your workday. First, try the 5 to 10 minute rule. For every hour of focus while you're at work, take a 5 to 10 minute break. And I know that a lot of you are going to say, oh, my boss isn't going to allow me to take a 5 to 10 minute break. Don't worry, I got you. In every workplace, there is always something that has to be done in your station. And there's always something that needs to be done away from your station. So, manual labor workers, if you're working on a job where your station requires you to perform a certain quantity of work, You want to have about 40 minutes worth of materials there. And once you run out of those materials, that requires you to walk away from your station and go and get you some more stuff. Now, for those individuals that work in fast food restaurants, it doesn't during the rush hour, you don't necessarily have that ability to break away for 10 minutes out of every hour, but usually the rush only lasts for 1 to 3 hours. One of the things that I have shown individuals in fast food restaurants is sandbagging your work ethic by doing pre-prep of the most dominantly requested products allows for you to increase your speed of service, which allows for you to push that rush along, because the rush is that a lot of people came in a short period of time. Everybody's asking for a similar product that you don't have enough of on hand. If you overstock 20 minutes before the rush, and when the rush comes, all of the most common items that are asked for are already prepared. And as they order it, you replace it. Everything is up there for a 10 to 20 minute hold time. And you have people in and out, first in, first out. And guaranteedly, you will stay ahead of the rush. Rush will only last 2 or 3 hours. And after that rush, you can take a 30-minute break. But construction guys, y'all can be building something. You do what you got to do. And then what happens? I have to go to the bathroom. That's a 10-minute break. You could knock something out. I have to go get something to drink. That could take a break. That's a 10-minute break. And they're not going to tell you no to that, because it might take you to leave the work site to go to where the break station is and grab you something to drink, or to leave the workstation and go grab you a bathroom break. It might actually be a 5 or 10 minute walk to get to that location, do that, and then come back. But deliberately make it seem like whatever it is that you got to do requires you to get up and walk away for 10 minutes. It's doable. For those individuals who realize that your work ethic is vast, the minimum work requirement for the job is not nearly as high as your work ethic. Those individuals that are digital nomads, you're working from your computer, you have to stay logged into your computer for a certain period of time, but you can find yourself finishing the workload requirement for the day in a couple of hours. You want to spread your workload out throughout the day. If you're in person on the job, you might want to, if the work requirement is to complete 20 or 30 tasks an hour, and that literally means that you're doing 2 to 5 tasks every 10 minutes, and you're able to knock out all of that in 30 minutes, you could do 30 minutes worth of work and then step away from the computer and then come back and do 30 more minutes worth of work. You could do 2 hours worth of work in 1 hour, take you an hour break, come back and do 2 more hours worth of work and take you an hour break. Matter of fact, you could do 2 hours worth of work, take you a 30-minute break, come back and do 2 more hours worth of work, take you another 30-minute break, and then finish the rest of the day's work and get off early. Where the 8 hours worth of assignments that they gave you, you actually were able to cover in 4 hours with 3 hours worth of breaks and a 1 hour lunch. So make sure that you set your timer and set it to vibrate, because you don't want the phone to ring and you get up and walk away as if you're taking a phone call, because there are a lot of jobs that don't allow phone calls. Set it to vibrate. When it goes off, you get up. They ask you what you're doing, going to the bathroom, getting something to drink, going to get paper for the printer, going to check the printer because I'm going to print an email, whatever the excuse is. If you need an excuse to remove yourself from your workstation, generate one. It's not optional. It's part of the work. Second, make your breaks active. During your break, stand up, stretch, walk around for a bit. It's not getting up out of the chair and going and sitting in another chair. You want to literally get up and walk around. You want to literally stretch your muscles. You want to get you some fresh air. Depending on where you are in the building, if you can go out and get you some fresh air outside, do that. This helps to relieve stress and aches from sitting too long. In fact, Though I don't recommend smoking, but for those individuals who smoke, after an hour and 10 minutes on the job, hey, let me get a 5-minute smoke break in. The 2.5 minutes it takes for you to get outside, 5 minutes to not smoke the cigarette, but just sit outside and breathe some fresh air, and the 2.5 minutes it takes for you to come inside. And some people know that you're outside taking a 5-minute smoke break, and you'll be outside for 15 minutes because it's 5 minutes to go outside, 5 minutes to smoke, and 5 minutes to come back. And you will come to find that 15-minute break that they're going to allow you to have, because you're going to come back in and you're going to explode in the work field and get all this work done. You will find that it is easy to clearly say, hey, I'm going to go take me a little break. Third, get away from your screen. Your break should be a break from your eyes too. Instead of scrolling on social media, just look out a window, let your mind wander, watch the traffic pass by. If you're in a place with a lot of people, you could stand somewhere, lean up against the wall, sipping on your cup of coffee, and just watch people pass back and forth. I mean, you don't got to stare them directly in the face, but I mean, if you need to watch something move, watch the traffic pass by. The next thing you want to do is you want to experiment with a structured method. Try the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or the 52-17 rule, 52 minutes of work, 17 minutes of rest. See what rhythm feels the best for you. I actually like the 52-17 because if you put in almost an hour's worth of work and then you stop working for almost 20 minutes, nobody's going to miss you. Beyond these little habits, it's about embracing a lifestyle of rest. That means truly disconnecting after work. It means actually taking your vacation days and not checking your emails. It's about seeing rest not as the opposite of productivity, but as a vital part of it. We've been sold a toxic lie that our value is tied to how much we can grind. We've worn burnout as a badge of honor and treated rest like a weakness. The science is crystal clear that whole approach is a recipe for bad ideas, and a shattered focus as well as a deep unhappiness is what we'll end up with if we continue to move that direction. The nonstop hustle does not lead to high performance. It leads to a dead end. The real path to being more effective and innovative isn't to add more to your plate, but to intentionally take things away. It's about embracing the power of the pause and the strategic genius of doing nothing. This isn't about working less. It's about working smarter in sync with our own biology. So your best ideas, your sharpest focus, and your most creative solutions aren't hiding in the frantic rush of the daily grind. They're waiting for you in the quiet moments in between. So stop the grind. Your secret weapon is waiting for you guys. And now I want to hear from you. We all felt the pressure of hustle culture. What's your favorite way to strategically do nothing? Is it a walk outside, listening to an album? You guys are listening to MP3s and mixtapes and stuff. Or just staring out the window for 5 minutes. Speaking of listening to an album, did you know that you can find more relaxation listening to the instrumental of a song, your favorite music beat, instead of the lyrics themselves? Because actually listening to someone else talk actually puts your brain to work. But listening to the tones of an instrumental, regardless of what it is, it could be rap, country, R&B, gothic, Catholic, Christian, whatever it is, gospel, whatever it is. If you listen to the instrumental instead of the lyrics, you will find yourself in a more tranquil position because the less active you force your brain to be, the more creative your brain can become. Share your favorite way to recharge in the comments below, and let's build a community that values rest just as much as it values work. I want to tell you guys, coming up soon, we're going to be doing another shift in the concepts that we're going to be covering, because we've talked about improving relationships, improving networks, improving business connections, improving your emotional intelligence, improving your lack of procrastination. And now we're talking about improving your ability to take respective breaks and maximize your efficiency while minimizing your work effort. Scheduling, planning. We're going to start going into trying to find that balance between work and family, the work-life balance that the Gen Zs are striving for. And we're going to try to give you guys some more insight and information as to what you can do to recognize when your balance is not there, and what can you do to bring that balance back. It is going to tie into today's topic of taking more breaks and yesterday's topic with scheduling and planning. However, by doing this, you are able to prioritize yourself separate from prioritizing your partner, because everybody needs their alone time. That needs to be scheduled into your day. But then the people that you value also need time with you. That should be scheduled out of your day. So your downtime is not included in the time that you spend with the people you value. The time that you spend not grinding is part of your awake time. And the part that you spend grinding is also part of your awake time. And your sleep time is not part of your personal downtime or part of your time with the family and loved ones that you have. So you have to recognize when we start talking about this that you're going to be literally working on about 3 or 4 sections. One section is going to be your rest. The other section is going to be your downtime for creative thinking. The other section is going to be for family and friends. And then the other section is going to be work. The 5th section, which is vacation from everything, we'll be talking about that at another time. But the goal is to give you the ability to think outside of the box more effectively. And this gives you the ability to strategically work in more things that benefit you. I've noticed, I'm finding with the change in season, I'm finding a lot more time off. I'm finding a lot more capabilities to get other things that are not this podcast done, which gives me the ability to come to the podcast and tell you guys about the things that we're going to start doing. That's not adding more things to our plate, but giving us the opportunity to take more things off of our plate and still maximize our efforts, where we're accomplishing more things with less effort, spending less time accomplishing these things, which frees up more of our time. With more time freed up, we have more time for family. The American dream was supposed to be to find a way to make money, hopefully have that money make money for us, where we could develop a family, people to share our success with, and have the time to enjoy our success with those people, whether this is blood relatives, romantic relationships, best friends from way back when. However it was, our ability to achieve success stemmed from the ability to have the capability to take care of the standard of living that we wanted and have the time to celebrate that success with the people that matter to us. That is what the American dream was supposed to be about. Limitless dreams, limitless opportunities, and the ability to achieve. But once you achieve, celebrating your success was supposed to be the ultimate goal. I'm going to continue to give you guys the information that you need to reach that ultimate goal. The Shangri-La of financial success is having the time to celebrate the success without going bankrupt, to celebrate the success without being wasteful, to celebrate the success with long-term success in the magnitude of once you've done it, it will continue to do it for you. Outside of personal expansion, where you want more than what you've already achieved, you want to get to another level. You went from being under 100,000 a year to being over 100,000 a year, and now you want to be over 1 million. Outside of that type of drive, if you're going from a low income status to a middle class status, and that's where you want to be at, there is an opportunity where you can meet a success level and stop. But if you want to go from being lower class or to the top 10%, there's still an opportunity where you can stop. There's even an opportunity where you can slow down and keep going. When I gave you guys the ideas of starting your own LLCs and starting your own C corporations, find something that you like to do, start off using it as a hobby, turn it into something that generates revenue, expand on it so that it starts making money for you. First 2 years that you're doing it, it's going to, if you're reinvesting in it to expand it, you're going to be finding a demand that you love to provide, and that demand is going to continue to be expanded to meet a larger demand. You then turn it around to use that expanded demand to increase the generated revenue. You're going to eventually have a high enough demand that requires more people to help you satisfy the demand. You will redirect extra capital into paying for help so that they can do the work for you. You're still going to be increasing your demand. Eventually, your demand is going to reach a point where it's making more than 70% of your current income, which allows you to quit the job where you're working for somebody else and focus on working for yourself. You're going to reach a level where you can hire 2 or 3 or 4 people to do the work for you, where you're not making 90% of the profit. You might be making 10 or 20% of the profit, but you're only doing 10% of the work. When you reach that point where you're doing 10% of the work, you can always increase the demand of the business, get 5% of the profit, and have somebody else doing 100% of the work. Your standard of living is still met inside of that 5% of profit, but the business is running itself. You can still micromanage the business, where the hardest part of your day is checking up on the employees and working payroll. Or you can pay somebody else to do that, where the hardest part of your day is calling that person and finding out why the numbers don't look right. Right? The further detached you are from the company, the lower the percentage of income you're getting from the company, but the further detached you are from the company, the less you do for the company. The company should expand itself to a level where it's making more money than it needs to perform, and that percentage goes to you. The more free time you have, the more time you can focus on expanding the company, starting up other branches. You can work towards hiring individuals that will expand the company for you. All you're doing is putting yourself in the business to going from being a follower to being a leader, to go from being the person at the bottom of the pyramid holding the pyramid up to being the person at the top of the pyramid being held up. This is not supposed to be a Ponzi scheme where you have to find 10 people to find 10 people to find 10 people so that you can make a buck. You should be able to set up a system where everybody that works for you gets paid, and that system expands in revenue so that you can hire more people to get paid. If your job is to generate money, so that the people who are working for you can generate the money for you for a profit. And then they can generate money for the other people who are going to be generating money for them. This is how you build a company from the ground up. You might be the worker bee at the first floor until you make enough money to have a second floor where you have management, and then you have the trainees, the new workers. And if you're promoting from within, as your business gets bigger, you should have the management floor that's managing the managers, and then the managers that are managing the workers, and then payroll. See what I'm saying? And ultimately, you should still be able to have a pyramid where you're at the top, or if it's a co-ownership scenario, you and your partner are at the top, and everybody else is branched downward. What you have to do is you have to change your mindset from mandatorily getting paid for your presence. Your mindset should be specifically dedicated to finding something that you can automate, finding something that you can shift from you being the wheels that turn to you paying somebody else to turn the wheels for you. Since that is where capitalism comes from, the American dream, making success off of the backs of others, you are supposed to be able to put yourself in a position where whatever it is that you're doing, you can pay somebody else to do it for you. Then you step away from it. So in order for you to get those creative juices flowing, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a lot of breaks and really think about what you want to be involved in. What do you like to do legally? And then decide, what do you apply yourself to in order to make yourself more successful? Then you start applying yourself to doing that. Start small. If you take my ideas when I'm telling you about investing, if you take my ideas when I'm telling you about expanding on your wealth and your success, if you are giving us an idea as to what we're going to be doing in 10 or 20 years, think about how much you could make if you establish something that can be done internationally. Then start doing it in your own backyard. You don't have to make it nationwide before you make it international. You can start it up in your own city and state and have it make enough money to afford for you to travel to another country and keep making it. But it has to be automated, because in order for you to start up a branch in another country, somebody's got to be running the American branch. Whatever you decide to do with your life, make sure that it can make more money for you without you having to be present than what you can make working for somebody else. So that's going to be the homework I'm going to leave for you guys for tonight. Remember that we're live 7 nights a week. We got some stuff that we're going to be talking about tomorrow that's going to help you guys with being more successful. We're going to be doing our members only show on Saturday, and then we're going to be tiptoeing back into like I said, the financial aspects of Donald Trump's cell phone and individuals that are pinging in on branding themselves in the phone industry, and how this is going to shift investment opportunities. Remember that on Tuesdays, we're going to be talking about investment strategies and money-making opportunities. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about other countries that we can invest in, live in, and find traditional families. I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. And like I always say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, again, while we're a 70% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, make sure that you guys put this effort in, take this information and capitalize on it. Because while this is here for you to make yourselves higher value men, the women can come and learn how to be higher value women. If you are striving for a better you, if there's anything about your life that you feel could improve or something that you wish wasn't the way it was, stay tuned on the show, ask questions, because I'll give you the answers to it. and we will find ways to make your situation better than what it is, because there's always another way. The first steps to failure is recognizing that you are saying you can't without actually trying something different. Can't is an excuse. You either can and don't want to, or you can and somebody's trying to stop you. That is the only two ways that life goes. This isn't an I can't. It's I don't want to, or they won't let me. That's it. And I'm going to keep doing it until they stop me. That's it. But there isn't an I can't. When you get I can't out of your mind, you will open up more doors and more opportunities and more options to succeed. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.